Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about one dinosaur specifically. The alpha of the original raptor pack from the first movie has become a pretty notorious animal in the Jurassic Park franchise. Its status as a cold-blooded killer and the way in which it will more than likely end up killing its prey is teased heavily in the original film, and its reputation in the park itself would keep InGen on high alert at all times. This was one dinosaur that people knew they shouldn't underestimate, which only makes its eventual escape that much more menacing when it happens in the third act. Today, we're going to be going over everything that we currently know about the big one. During the events of the first movie, Robert Muldoon tells us that InGen originally bred 8 velociraptors for the park, but when the newest raptor came in, she took over the pride and killed all of her siblings except for 2 others. These would be lesser animals that the big one would dominate, and they pretty much acted as her subordinates. A curious thing that takes place in the first movie that isn't really talked about too often happens to be the fact that these 3 velociraptors were actually breeding. In the first film, Grant and the kids find a recently hatched clutch of raptor eggs in a different section of the park. This means that before the 3 remaining raptors were transported into the quarantined raptor pen, they'd already laid their eggs in their original paddock. InGen wouldn't find out that any unauthorized breeding had taken place until 1994, when Dr. Wu and a select group of personnel went back to the island in order to clean up the mess that had cost the company millions. With this information of raptor breeding taking place on the island, many believe that the sex of the big one may be called into question. Being that she was the one that was overtly violent and aggressive in the movie, most believe that she is the creature that transitioned from female to male. This would more than likely explain where a lot of her dominance traits come from, as it's something that's typically seen in males of an animal species. However, we also need to remember that as far as JP3 is concerned, raptors actually live in mostly female-led packs, which means that the theory that it was the other 2 creatures that became males, while the big one stayed female, is something that should, at the very least, be taken into legitimate consideration. Regardless, the fact of the matter was that the big one was a killer, the raptors were breeding, and she'd already been responsible for multiple animal deaths on the island. Now, one of the things that's most well known about the first Jurassic Park movie is the fact that at no point in the runtime of the film do they ever explicitly tell us which raptor is the alpha. All 3 of them look pretty much the same, and it can be difficult to really tell them apart. However, if we consult the original David Koepp script, it's actually revealed in there that the big one is the raptor that kills Ray Arnold in the maintenance shed. This would be the same raptor that comes out from under the tarp and gets killed by the T-Rex when she pounces onto Grant and the others. It's never made clear whether or not this exact raptor was intended to be the big one during filming, but as far as the script is concerned, this was the initial intention. That being said, it's important for me to debunk a bit of a hoax that's been going around the fandom for several years. A lot of people seem to be under the impression that the 2 raptors that are always with each other in Jurassic Park are named Randy and Kim. These are the 2 that follow Lex and Tim into the kitchen in the third act. This belief stems from the names Randy and Kim being written on this page of production notes from the first movie. However, the reality of the situation is that these aren't the names of the raptors. They're actually just the names of the animators that were working on the project, Randall Dutra and Kim Blanchett. With all of this information being considered, I know it can become frustrating when trying to pinpoint which raptor is specifically the big one. Due to Robert Muldoon locking eyes with the raptor that killed Joffrey at the beginning of the movie, and the manner in which he was later killed, many are of the mindset that this dinosaur simply has to be the big one, based off of its relationship with Muldoon alone. Well, I really like that theory, and think that it's the most cinematic and interesting. I've even said this before in the past. I will say that we honestly don't have enough evidence to really nail that down as fact just yet. But even without any of us knowing for sure who this velociraptor really is, we still need to take its reputation into consideration and remember just how dangerous it was. One way or another, the animal produced offspring. It was responsible for killing many members of its own species in battles, and it kept 2 underlings to dominate while on the island. She is the entire reason that Muldoon had to quarantine the animals inside of the raptor pen in the first place. Had the big one just acted normal and played nice with the other dinosaurs, the game warden wouldn't be forced to transfer all of them in a high security box. Even while the dinosaurs were inside of this new pen, she'd often set her subordinates out to attack the fences whenever the feeders came. The constant plotting of escape and freedom is a notable trait of this truly vicious InGen clone. In short, the big one is a dinosaur that is hard to really pin down in the first movie. We know what the animal did, we know what she was capable of, but we just don't know for sure which one she is whenever we're looking at the screen. In the past, I've come under the impression that there is a way to locate the big one in the first movie, but after being exposed to more information, I will admit that it is becoming increasingly difficult to pinpoint. I've tried to make this video as factual as possible by going over all of the information that's been released by the DPG, the original Jurassic Park, and a few other sources as well. One of those sources is the Behind the Gates Facebook page. This is the place where I first heard of the debunking of the Randy and Kim raptor theories. In order for you guys to check them out, I'll provide the link for you all in the description down below. Now, I'd love to know which raptor all of you guys think was more than likely the big one. Also, how many of you choose to take what's in the script at face value? Do you think it was the one in the power shed? Or do you think it could have been any one of the others? Whatever your own thoughts and opinions may be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Just the fact that you guys watch these videos and support my content